Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday morning. I'm Connie Myers, and this is To 70 and Beyond. And I'm sitting outside right now. It's probably about 85, 87 degrees already here in Vegas. So I won't be sitting out here too much longer. But it was an absolutely beautiful morning, and I had a friend stop by for a cup of coffee and a bite to eat. So I had a really nice visit with her. She was one of my Airbnb guests. And she wanted to hang around for the 270 Beyond, but then she had to leave. So today, the week before last, we talked about stress and challenge. And last week, we talked about survival and persist. And today, we're going to talk about what the most important mindset is for being in a disaster, whether it's a natural disaster, a pandemic, or a power outage, or whatever it is. And the answer to that is resilience. So in the emergency world, resilience is a very important word. They use it to describe infrastructure resilience. So when a disaster happens, and let's say bridges go down or something like that, when they build back the bridge, how can they build it stronger and better? They talk about resilience in the community. So what in the community could be done better to be rebuild it to lower the risk of another disaster. They talk about it with businesses. How can we prepare our businesses and how can we build them back better so that they have a better chance of doing better during a disaster? And that's going on right now when we talk about COVID-19. So how can we build our businesses back better? How can we build our lives back better, all with doing social distancing and with masks? It's a whole new world out there. So resilience is a critical word in any type of disaster. So I'm going to share my screen just 1 minute. I need to bring it up big here. So why is it that mindset is so important in and after disaster? Well, any first responder or anybody that has survived a disaster says that the first thing that happens when you realize your situation is your mind goes blank. So I want to ask you this. What if right now a knock on the door came and you were told you had 15 minutes to get out? What would you do? I can tell you that a friend of mine who went through that with the fires in Malibu said the first thing that she did was froze, and she spent the first 7 minutes of it wandering around in a circle trying to figure out what to take. And when she got to the shelter, she and her husband realized they didn't have anything for her two little girls. The first thing that happens when you are faced with a crisis situation, whether it's a disaster or other kind of crisis, is you become immobile. Your mind goes blank. You go immediately into fight or flight. How do I move forward? Or how do I get out? Panic sets in, fear, anxiety, and anticipation. So it's really important to understand that mindset is everything. A resilient mindset would say, like Audrey Hepburn did, nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. That's a resilient mindset. Another one, a quote that I love is, which does not kill us makes us stronger. Well, when it comes to disasters, as we've all seen for the last couple of months, that is absolutely true. So we talked about, so this was a study that was done in 2011. And how do we get to resilience? How do we get to survival? How do we get to those mindsets that are going to help to move us forward? It's through mindfulness thinking. So this study included the Harvard Business Review, Harvard University, Yale. It included a bunch of think tanks, some psychiatrists, psychologists, and they brought in 57 leaders from 57 different sectors of business. And they divided the group into half. Half of them went through their mindfulness training, and the other half did not. They put them all through these rigorous tests. They did MRIs and all kinds of psychological testing and everything on these individuals prior to the study. What does mindfulness really do? It creates emotional intelligence in 4 areas: focus, compassion, creativity, and clarity. Think about what we've been through just these last few months. How important is it for all 4 of these things to be in our mindset? So this study, they put the group that went through the program, they put them through 8 weeks of mindfulness training. And then they asked them to continue on for another 12 weeks in doing the practices. Then they came back at the end of that time and they tested both groups again, do the same tests. And what was very interesting is that, of course, the people that didn't go through anything, that nothing really changed with them. But the people that had gone through the mindfulness training, there were three main areas of improvement: resilience, collaboration, and the agility of being able to do complex thinking. So what we're going through right now, and if you've gone through a tornado or a hurricane or an earthquake or something like that, how important are these areas when you are going through something like that? Resilience and collaboration improved over 90%. So not like a small percentage, but 90%. And then complex thinking was over 80%. 4 years later, this study, along with 15 other studies, were put together and re-examined by the University of British Columbia. And they found, going through all the testing and everything that had been done, and then they looked at the brains of the individuals that had gone through these studies, and they saw that the brain actually grew in size. Now, I'm 71, so I need as much brain as I can possibly get at this point in time. So anything that I can do to improve my mindset and my mind and my brain, I'm going to do. So this is the prefrontal cortex of your brain. And right behind that is the ACC, the anterior cingulate cortex, as well as in the middle of your brain is the hippocampus. Those are the two areas that improved and the brain actually grew in. Those are also the same areas that encompass all of the things we're talking about here. So if you do not have a mindfulness practice, it is not something that is something nice to do. It is something that you need to do, and even more so if you've experienced some kind of a disaster like we all have right now. We talked a couple weeks ago about stress, again, the book that I quoted was The Upside of Stress. Kelly McGonigal says, when you view your stress response as helpful, you create biology of courage. How important is that during a disaster? When you choose to connect with others under stress, you can create resilience. That is exactly what we need. In her book, she says, if we believe stress will kill us, we increase our chances of dying from stress by 46%, but only if we believe that stress is going to kill us. If we turn stress like an athlete does prior to a game, if you turn stress into challenge, you'll be more confident, you'll have less anxiety, and it will increase your energy. The other areas that we talked about were fixed mindset and growth mindset. It's important to have a growth mindset when you're going through something. That is when you believe that the talent, attitudes, and temperaments, personality traits are starting points. They're not the end all. It fosters curiosity and passion for learning through effort and experience. Haven't we all really learned through this COVID-19 how important is growth as we move into what our new norm is going to be? Last week we talked about survival and persistence. If you have a survival mindset, it's going to provide you strength. It's going to keep you from going into victim mentality. You're going to be flexible and adaptable. Your attitude that we can do this is going to get you through it, just like what's happening right now. We're moving out. We're into stage 2 in most areas. And then it creates diversity. We're able to think outside of our box. Persistence. What does persistence do? It observes the possibilities, attitude, manifests, and willpower. Those are all important components for where we're going to go. However, the most important mindset is that of resilience. Disaster survivors and first responders agree the most important thing to have is a resilient mindset. It is critical in preparation, surviving, and recovery. What is resilience? Resilience is the ability to quickly recover to not just previous status and functionality, but is to build back better. So as we're going through how we're going to go back out into the world, how can we build our worlds better? And one of the things I heard from a lot of you is that you are going to take more time. You're going to say no to more things. So spend the next 3 weeks really working on evaluating what's truly important in your life and what is going to build your life better than what it was before. Steve Barbali says, life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We just get stronger and more resilient. We must stand back, look around, commit to making the right choices on our personal and business decisions. Resilience moves us forward. So how do we do that? Well, in the emergency world, there's an acronym called STOP. And what they talk about is, and I talk about this all the time whenever you're wanting to change your mindset and change how you're going towards things. You stop, you take 2 minutes to take 3 deep breaths. Then think about what's needing to be done. Notice what your inner instincts are telling you, because they're going to tell you what needs to happen next. And then observe around you what needs to be done. Then have your plan and take action. Have your vision and take action. A really good example of that is I do retreats twice a year in Mexico. Well, I haven't done it twice this year, but I'm hoping to get back to it next year. Twice a year in Mexico. And one of the retreats, most of the ladies that were there, usually there was men and women, but this time it was just all ladies. And most of us were older. I think with the exception of one, everybody was over 50. And we were out, the dolphins were right up against the shore. So everybody's out looking at the dolphins. And one of the gals jumps in and starts swimming. And she gets caught up. The riptide where we go is pretty strong. And there had just been a hurricane. So the riptide was really bad. And she jumped in. She got caught in the riptide. And while everybody's looking at the dolphins, she's getting further out to shore. And she's yelling for help. One of the ladies that was only 30 years old, and she had been a competitive swimmer, she stood up, she looked around, she looked at all of us, she looked at the woman in the water, and knew that it was up to her. She observed what was going on, she made the decision, she knew the plan of action, and she took off. And what was really interesting, as she took that leadership position, we all knew exactly what our roles were, and we all fell into place. That is how you use STOP to create a resilient mind. She was resilient. She was going to get out there. She was going to save this woman. And everybody else knew what their part could be just because she did that. But she didn't just dive in. She stopped and thought about it first. So having a resilient mind means that you're going to use STOP. Let me go back here. I'm going to stop sharing this. So this week, I want you to think about, with everything that is going on right now, I want you to think about what it is that you're doing and how you can be more resilient in your life. Because we all need to be able to stay focused, have creativity, make sure we have compassion, and be able to move forward with resilience. Since tomorrow is Father's Day, happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. And the video this week is all about fatherhood. So I wanted to share this with you. I hope you all have a fabulous Father's Day and you're treated right. Happy Father's Day to my dad, who's in heaven, and to all of my sons and sons-in-laws. I hope you have a beautiful day. And thanks for joining me. We'll see you next week on To 70 and Beyond.